What's good, everybody? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? In this video, man, welcome back to this slow burn is what I like to call it. Atlanta Falcons great by the digits, man. We started out with 99, ended up with 91. Today, we're continuing that. Start going from 90 to 81. I am Chris Tipmore. Right next to me is the historian from the Birdcage, my boy Ryan. How you feeling, family?
Hey man, it's always good when we got this slow burn going, man. Dog days of summer is coming up, and definitely we get to dive into some former Falcon players that definitely had an impact on the franchise, or they just wore the jersey.
Right, man. Right, man. Again, Falcons great by the digits, and yeah, this is a slow burn. We really didn't want to do this while the draft was going on because that is the most important thing. So this is going to be something that's going to be going on. When it gets slow, you need to look for some content. Most likely, Chris Tipmore and Ryan, the historian, is going to be hanging around, counting down those Falcons greats by the digits. You dig? So, of course, without any further ado, I feel like we should go ahead and get into number 90. And number 90, when I think about the number 90, for me, Ryan, I'm not sure about you, but for me, I think about a guy last name Smith, first name Chuck. I said, yes, Chuck Smith played for the Atlanta Falcons from 92 to 99. Definitely 58 and a half sacks, 24 fumbles. This guy was a beast. I said long tender and a strong production. You already know, especially come to that pass rush. A key part to the 1998 NFC champion Falcons defense. Somebody that showed up on Sundays, somebody that has football camps now, somebody that even are and thank you for that information too, Ryan, the historian from on draft night, that this man, James Pierce Jr., is training under someone like Chuck Smith, someone who got after the quarterback. Chuck Smith was one of those ones, and man, we miss guys like that on the line. What you think about Chuck Smith, Ryan?
I think Chuck Smith was undeniably one of the best pass rushers that we ever had. And really, I'm not just going to consider him just the pass rusher because he also played the run and he did so many different things with this Falcons organization. And when you sit back and look at the impact that he's had on the game, he's still having it right now with a lot of young players at this point. And that is something that you're seeing when you look at a lot of the kids that are coming out of University of Georgia, Tennessee, Florida. There are many local Georgia kids who go to this man, and there are still some professional athletes who go to this man to still get training when it comes to learning their craft. So he's still involved in the game as a coach for the Baltimore Ravens at this point. But all I can say is at this point, I think that the Atlanta Falcons are a team that should have hired this man to help out with our pass rush, if you want to be honest with me.
Man,
no disrespect to Coach Ollie, but we got a guy that we all know that comes in here and he's produced major talent.
Indeed, absolutely. And it's just, it's crazy that it didn't happen. But certain situations happen. Like you said, no disrespect to Coach Nate Ollie, but this man played for the Falcons. He wore the uniform. He embodied the city when he was here. So, it just would have made sense. But hey, at the end of the day, we do have a protege, James Pierce Jr., so maybe we'll have like a Chuck Smith-esque type performance from him. We'll get it, hopefully. Another guy that I will mention, now he didn't have godly numbers, but I just feel like he was a difference maker for the Atlanta Falcons. We're talking about 6'2", 345, Grady Jackson. A space eater, somebody that we would love to have on the Atlanta Falcons right now is that space eater, demanding double teams. And you think about it, he was a key part to Jim Moore's coaching era, and he anchored the defensive line, helped the Atlanta Falcons reach the 2004 NFC Championship game, played alongside Pat Kearney and Rod Coleman, and those guys can't get off if Grady's not taking on those double teams, showing that veteran presence. He brought that toughness, that attitude to the defense. So I had to mention Mr. Grady. Not Jared this time, but Jackson.
Grady Jackson was a key part of those early 2000 Falcon teams when Michael Vick got to the league, and we actually had to have a defense that could actually slow somebody down. He was a big part of what we were doing. Rod Coleman was another piece of that line, but as you said before, you have to have somebody that do the dirty work. That's how to clean everything up for your star players or your guys that are key factors on defense. There are so many things that he's done that is definitely still echoed right now that we're still needing right now. Because yes, we've gotten some new D tackles, but at this point, we got to have somebody who can do what this man was doing at one point. That's how I see it.
Absolutely. Like I said, guaranteed space eater. You got to talk about Grady Jackson, man. Those are our guys for number 90. And we're going to continue this thing going on. And we're going to number 89. Ryan, if you would do the honors, please, sir.
Oh, man. So let's go ahead and get to 89. The first player that I'm going to talk, he played those legendary Falcon teams who got to the playoffs in the late 70s, early 80s, and the man by the name of Mr. Wallace Francis. And when you look at Wallace Francis as a Falcons receiver, you know, he's a Louisiana guy, came out of Arkansas Pine Bluff, HBCU, baby. You know I got to talk about the HBCU players all day, every day. That's something that we support in the Birdcage, and I'm trying to make sure I put that out. So when you look at it, Wallace Francis was one of those guys that was a game changer with his speed and his consistency. He played with the Buffalo Bills before he got to the Atlanta Falcons. We traded for him. We ended up getting him, and he ended up playing for the Falcons for 6 years. He was on the legendary 1980 team that definitely was putting up arcade numbers on teams. The problem is we just didn't capitalize when we had that great offense, just like we did in 2016. I'm not going to try to go too far into that, but when you look at Wallace Francis, he was, I'll be honest with you, I would say Wallace Francis was one of those guys who was a sure-handed receiver that can make some things happen. And he was tough as nails going across the middle at that time, being an undersized receiver at 5'11", 100 and really they say 190 pounds, but I think he was about 185 pounds. I've been next. I've stood next to the man before, so he's not that big. So they kind of fudged his numbers a little bit, but for him to go across danger zones like that during the time where safeties were able to tee off on you and he was able to make plays, that tells you the impact that he's had on this offense. So that's one of the players that I would bring up.
I mean, Wallace Francis, he led the team in receptions for multiple seasons. Clutch receiver, you know what I'm saying? Like, he did help with the team's success. We don't get a lot of places, you know, so without Wallace. But I just want to, you know, touch on his consistency. 3 straight seasons, you know, 50-plus catches, Ryan, you know, 800-plus yards and everything. Those are elite numbers because that was in an era to where it was a run-heavy everything. He rarely missed games. He was a reliable player throughout his 9-year stint, man. He just still ranks, I believe, top 10 as one of the Falcons wide receivers as well. Just, you know, professionalism, toughness. We're talking about Wallace Francis, man. But I know you wanted to add some more guys to the party of number 89. Who you got, man?
Most definitely. I got another gentleman that played for the Atlanta Falcons, and he was drafted by the Falcons, and his name was a guy named Reggie Kelly. Very solid player, 6'4", 257 pounds, played from 99 to 2002, went to the Bengals, played for a little while longer, and then came back in 2011 and played for the Falcons. When you look at Reggie Kelly, he was a second-round pick. He was in the same draft as Patrick Kearney and Mud Duck Todd McClure. When you look at that 99 draft, you had 3 solid players there, and also he's a Mississippi State Bulldog. So you really look at the guy, he was Mississippi tough, great blockers, solid hands, but he was really known for his physicality when you talk about the Atlanta Falcons, speaking on Wallace Francis. Then for my Georgia Bulldog fans out here, you also had Brian Edwards, who number 89, only played for a year with us. We're going to keep going. I got Des White, who came from the Chicago area, Jackson, Florida guy, came out of Bowles High School, same school that produced Chipper Jones. Also, you have Charlie Warner currently that's wearing it right now, Georgia Bulldog. And we also have another great receiver that came to Atlanta at the end of his career. This is why I say Atlanta is the retirement home for players. You had South Carolina State legend, Mr. Charlie Brown. Played for the Washington Redskins during those 80s, won a couple of Super Bowls with the Skins, known for his speed, his toughness, good route running, and one of those guys that could just change the game at the drop of a dime. We caught Charlie Brown at the end of his career, unfortunately, but he still gave us solid numbers. Those are some of the players that I have that have worn. And also, shout out to I can't leave because he had me on his podcast, on his radio show on Sirius Satellite Radio. Shout out to Mr. Ben Hartstock, Ohio State Buckeye, played for it, was a blocking tight end, played for us for about a year and a half, and definitely had scored a touchdown. Whatever, he's a great blocker he was known for. That's what I have for you for the number 89, my guy. What do you have for 88, sir?
Oh, yes. Got to move on to number 88. Hey, man, this is kind of like an open and shut case, you know what I'm saying, for who's wearing 88 for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, of course, we know good and darn well he did not start his career with Atlanta, but he definitely finished it with Atlanta his last 5 seasons. I'm talking about Mr. Tony Gonzalez, someone who came in and was an absolute game changer, someone who came in and still was averaging touchdowns, still being that guy who can box out in the middle of the field, be that safety blanket. Matt Ryan, how many times on second down, third down, you had to have it? You see that veteran running that nice route, getting open in space. Tony Gonzalez, man, like I just really, really hate. I love the fact that we was able to get him a playoff win. I hate the fact that we wasn't unable to make it to the Super Bowl with Tony, because honestly, I think if that Falcon team get to the Super Bowl, everybody level goes up. Can you imagine Tony Gonzalez in the Super Bowl? He would have pretty much died on that field. But, so it's just like, shout out to the legend. Honestly, I consider the GOAT when it comes to tight ends, and I'm glad that he was wearing a Falcon uniform, Tony Gonzalez, and I'm pretty sure you got something to add on for Tony Gonzalez as well, don't you, brother?
I definitely do, because there's a guy I'm gonna talk about him when we get to this, till we get to the number, but I'm gonna save that one. But because I got a guy that to me I feel like gets forgotten in this franchise, and I'm gonna bring it up. But speaking of one of the most important Falcons, Jamal Anderson was not the first Falcon to do the Dirty Bird. Let's get this straight.
Yes, sir.
The first Falcon to do the Dirty Bird, baby. You know how it go. We got Mr. OJ Santiago. Let's talk about it. Mr.
Yeah, man.
That was a solid player that we had. Came out of Canada, out of Ontario, Canada, whatnot. Played at Kent State. He was a 3rd round pick, and was really he was a 3rd round pick at number 70 in the Canadian Football League. He got drafted by the CFL as well. This is what a lot of folks don't know. He was a 5th round pick. He was a 5th round selection with the 48. So when you look at him, he definitely was a solid player for us in Atlanta. He's known for the Dirty Bird. He was the first person in his franchise to do it. Right. And he honestly took over the job, when he got to Atlanta. He got, dealt with a little injury, but he also contributed to this team reaching the Super Bowl with 27 receptions, 408 yards, 5 touchdowns in 16 games. He averaged 15 yards. And when you look at it, everybody talks about Jam being that guy, but it wasn't Jam started it. OJ Santiago who started it. And you also look at, he got passed up on the depth chart, Reggie Kelly, who we also spoke of, but again, who we just spoke about. But again, OJ Santiago is definitely an important part of the Atlanta Falcons.
Absolutely. Like you said, man, like he's credited for popularizing the Dirty Bird. The thing about Santiago, he had multiple dances. That was something that he did. That was his thing. And, so like people need to know that OJ Santiago was definitely was the guy that, that should be credited for the Dirty Bird the most, and I'm pretty sure Jamal would say that OJ was a part of that as well. One thing I can remember about OJ was back on December 27, 1998, when he caught that career-long 62-yard touchdown pass in a 38-16 victory over the Miami Dolphins. Like you said, he was key in this Super Bowl run. Without OJ Santiago making those key plays for us, we don't make it to the Super Bowl, because we're not in the position to have like certain players go our way. if he's not, like you said, making those 27 receptions for 478 yards and 5 touchdowns. So, yes, O.J. Santiago was definitely somebody that I had to put on this list, and I believe someone who is forgotten within the Falcons franchise. Moving on to number 87. 87 is a good number, man. 87 is a good number.
You know I got to start this.
Do you think?
This one. It's to me. Like I said, I'm always going to champion for my HBCU guys, but the greatest pass rusher in Atlanta Falcons football history is not John Abraham. Let's get this straight. John was great.
Yes.
One of the best to ever do it. And can't wait for him to get on my show one day if I get to talk to him. But Mr. Abraham, you were one of the best to ever walk through here. But the greatest pass rusher that played on this team, Claude Humphrey, Tennessee State alumni, the first Falcon Hall of Famer that we got. That was a full-time. No, prime the Hall of Fame, but no. I got to be honest with you on this. Claude Humphrey was literally right there with Mr. Falcon, Tommy Nobis.
Yes.
When you talk about longevity, being in the league and being on a team that really he out of this. He knows where the pillars are. Tommy retired early before he took off. But Claude played there. You talk about a first-round pick out of Tennessee State. He was a first-round pick and was a third pick of that draft in 1968. Played from Atlanta from 68 to 78. He played in 171 games. He started 138 games. He had 11 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown, and he also had a career of 130 unofficial sacks in his career because they didn't.
Would you listen to that? Not to mention 6 Pro Bowls.
82. I'm gonna let you clean that up because I know he had more than 130 sacks. They gypped him probably out of 20 sacks, if you want to be honest.
I mean, to be honest with you, yeah, I would say so because he used to get after it. Like again, he's the greatest pass rusher that we have as far as in the Falcons. Yeah, yes, like Georgia Texas boy saying the real sack leader. You know, we have to show respect to the people that came and the players that came before. And Claude Humphrey, if he played in today's game, the contract that he would demand would be absolutely insane. Okay, 2 pro selections, 6-time Pro Bowler right here. Again, a bona fide person that can get the quarterback on the ground, franchise cornerstone, elite pass rusher, Hall of Famer. The list goes on and on. Claude Humphrey. Claude. Claude.
That's another
Claude, have mercy.
And here's the other thing that a lot of people don't talk about Claude Humphrey. He was another one who had that head slap mastered to a science. Deacon Jones was the one who made it popular, but the guy who started it really was beating up on folks was a man by the name of Richard Tombstone Jackson, a Southern University legend as well as NFL folklore when you talk about pass rushers, and a knee injury derailed his career. But and he also wore 87 too in his career, by the way. But when you really look at it, when you talk about pass rushers in this here, Claude Humphrey is he's on Mount Everest.
Right.
Claude Humphrey comes first, everybody else falls second. And if you want to sit back and argue the point where you guys want to say John Abraham is the best, I think you're a damn fool. Because you really don't understand the fact that this man, even at the end of his career, was in high demand and went to Philadelphia and played in the Super Bowl. If you ever see the clips of the 1980 Super Bowl where you see the Philadelphia Eagles and the Raiders playing or whatnot, I want you to really go back and look at the end when there was a flag thrown. Do you remember the football player that picked up the flag and actually threw it in the film and was pissed?
Mr. Humphrey.
That was Claude Humphrey.
Mr. Humphrey.
So shout out to Mr. Humphrey. Rest in peace. You're definitely missed among Falcon Nation, and we're gonna talk about your on the field and off the field brother on the other side of the ball with the next number. But I got another name for you. You might remember, sir.
What you
Bert
got?
Emanuel.
Oh yeah, I was going there. Definitely had
This
Bert
is
Emanuel.
yours, brother. Have it.
94 to 97, man. Okay, Bert Emanuel, 217 receptions, almost 2,900 yards. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about it is 12 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Like in that era, he was a top Falcon receiver for several years, solid production. And the thing about it is he had explosive playmaking. He played in an era where he had to, you know what I'm saying, be that guy for the Atlanta Falcons because, of course, he was on one side, but a guy that we're going to talk about a little bit later was also on the other side that made it a little bit easier for Bert. But the thing about it is Bert could get what has T.O. used to say? He used to have some get somewhere in them shoes. Yeah, that was Bert Emanuel.
He was definitely one of those guys that could just take it for the distance when you talk about the speed. And when you look at it, man, that's all I can say. I think when you sit back and you look at it, I just see it as wow. Man, all I can say is just wow. Bert was a guy, I'll put it this way. When you look at Bert Emanuel, you put him in our 2016 offense, you put him in our 2017 offense. He's a guy that could take the top off of a defense. He definitely could hurt a lot of defenses with his speed and route running. If he had a quarterback like Matt Ryan, I think he would have been one of the toughest to do it. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong with that. But
no, I mean, that's not far-fetched because Matt Ryan was you know what I'm saying, you think about the quarterbacks he had dealing with back then compared to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan would definitely have got him the ball for sure.
So we got some honorable mentions. I'm gonna throw this out here. You got Ashley Lilly. You got Joe Horn, who played a year for us. They came from New Orleans.
Hey, but he helped Roddy White a lot. Roddy still to this day says Joe Horn in that 1 year helped him a whole lot in his game. So that's a
good Joe Horn.
Right.
Justin Peele is another guy that had that 87 tight end. And then you also had a solid player that was Taz Anderson or whatnot, who wore that 87 as well. He played in the 60s. And I mean, when you just look at all the guys that have worn it, not many guys that would stand out, but I'll be honest with you. When you look at Claude Humphrey and you look at he's the greatest to wear that number. That number should not be handed out. He's got a gold jacket. Right. I know we don't retire numbers, but here's my thing. Stop handing out certain numbers. That number automatically should be done. It shouldn't even be handed out.
That's why
the gold jacket already alleviates that.
Right. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And again, it's terrible that we don't retire numbers because there is some guys whose numbers should be retired. I mean, Claude Humphrey number should definitely be retired. Nobody should be rocking 87. And some people can say the same thing about number 2, but you know, it is what it is.
You know, this fan base is fickle with that, bro. I'm not even gonna get into it, brother.
Hey, we just gonna move on to number 86. We gonna move on to number 86. Pick up sticks, man. And I know one thing. I know it's somebody on the list for me, and I'm pretty sure this guy's on the list for you as well. And I'm talking about Mr. Number 86, Jim Mitchell. Yes, 1969 to 79. Tight end, 305 receptions, 4,358 yards, 28 touchdowns. A 2-time Pro Bowler who was an offensive weapon for a decade for the Falcons. Mr. Reliable when it comes to, you know, being on third down, being just one of those guys who can pass catch. Hey, man, you got to give respect to this man right here. What you say, man? What you got to say? What you got to say, Ryan?
So rest in peace to Mr. Jim Mitchell. Shout out to his son, good friend of mine, Mr. Damian Mitchell. First off, Jim Mitchell needs to be in the the state of Tennessee, where he's from, Hall of Fame. He also needs to be in the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor. Everybody that is on this passing list had to pass him to get to having that status. Roddy White passed him. Terrence Mathis passed him. So many other guys have passed him on this list when it comes to receiving. He was the all-time leading receiver. He's still 6th on the list right now.
Right.
You have yet to put this man in the Ring of Honor. It is a shame. You put Deion Sanders in the Ring of Honor before him. I know I'm gonna piss some people off, but I don't give a damn. I'm sorry. This man was our offense for a minute. He was our unicorn. I'm gonna give you this. He's a legendary figure on the HBCU circuit, Prairie View A&M to be exact, by the way, if you don't know about it. He was a running back. He was an H-back at Prairie View A&M. They played in the wishbone system. He converted from being a running back to becoming a tight end, big and fast. He was a weapon. And also he had a hell of a right hook. They show, if you ever look when we play the Bagheads, them stinking New Orleans Saints, anytime we play them or whatever, do you remember seeing a Falcons player with a red helmet punch a guy and he had on 86? That was Jim Mitchell. Jim, and he didn't just relegate it for the New Orleans Saints, but that's just a clip that they show every year. So when you look at it, he and Claude Humphrey were best friends. They were roommates together. They were brothers. And some of the stories that I've heard off camera, I can't repeat on here with some stuff, but then there are some of those stories to where they tell that they were the most intimidating guys on the team. It wasn't Tommy Novus. Tommy was a sweetheart till you got him in between those lines.
I was about to say till he hit that football field.
But Jim Mitchell was a unicorn. Here's my thing. He's the greatest tight end in Falcon history. Tony Gonzalez is up there with him, but Tony ain't exceeding him because he wasn't here that long. Tony was here. He helped us get to a level. But here's the other thing that most folks know. Jim Mitchell scored the first touchdown in Falcons playoff history. From Steve Barkowski in the corner of the end zone.
Yes, he did.
His touchdown helped us win that first playoff game. When you talk about a guy that was clutch, this man did it all. So, again, he got highlights on YouTube. If you don't know about him, please look up the highlights.
That's what, and that's what shows like this is about, so these countdowns to, familiarize Falcon fans with guys like Jim Mitchell, guys who can be considered the greatest tight end in Falcons history, but just, for one thing, tender, and also just importance, so Jim Mitchell was at which we can call one of those ones, for sure. Another guy that I want to mention, though, because there's a couple of guys for 86, honestly. Brian Finneran, 2000 to 2010. Now, Finneran, godly numbers? Absolutely not. But he was consistent when you just needed that play. Big body receiver, played wide receiver for us. One of the only few guys who can say, hey, I played with Matt Ryan and Michael Vick. Reliable third down and red zone target. When you throw the ball up to him, most times he can go get it. Like I said, played key roles in both of their careers. And Brian Finneran, again, was he Roddy? Was he Jenkins? Was he any of those guys? No, but he was a reliable third down receiver rocking 86, holding down the Atlanta Falcons. And he still, to this day, checks out the Atlanta Falcons and what they do. And sometimes you can see him comment right now on Twitter, but I just wanted to mention Mr. Brian Finneran. And also I wanted to mention too, Mr. Floyd Dixon, 1986 to 1991 wide receiver. Now Floyd Dixon, only 124 receptions, but he had 8 touchdowns and he had over 2,000 yards. He was also a deep threat, the number 2 receiver is why, and his tender played alongside Andre Rison and contribute into those early 90s defense. So I wanted to mention Mr. Floyd Dixon as well, just because I don't think many Falcon fans even know who he is.
Well, the true Falcon fans know who he is because he played during the era when the Falcons really weren't good when he got here. He was a bright spot. You got to remember, he was here. Charlie Brown was here. You had Billy White Shoes Johnson at the end of his career. And then you also had Alfred Jenkins at the end of his career at that time in that wide receiver room. So he was a guy that was coming in and learning from the old vets. So, again, Floyd Dixon was a solid player that we had. But, again, like you said, it was just different at that time.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, those are the only guys that I would say had merit and really had a chance to really show what they could do with that 86. That's all I got.
I'm gonna surprise you with a number 85. I'm gonna surprise you. Now, It's a guy that I was going to talk about first, but I think you're going to end up mentioning him anyway. So I'm going to mention somebody who necessarily wasn't with the Falcons long, but in a run heavy system, in a run heavy era, he wasn't bad. Talk about Mr. Paul Flatley, 68 receptions, 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, former Pro Bowler prior to Atlanta, but he still gave us that veteran presence. And in the short term, he had big impact for the Atlanta Falcons as well. So, I just want to again go back to yesteryear and say salute to Mr. Paul Flatley, somebody that a lot of Falcon fans do not remember, do not know. So we're bringing it here to the forefront. Paul Flatley and your Flatley family.
That was definitely a solid. That was definitely a very solid guy that you brought up. But I got to bring up another guy. It seemed like Atlanta loved them damn University of Texas football players. They kill me with this. Unfortunately, look, Mr. Falcon Tommy Nobis is a Texas Longhorn. Bijan Robinson, a Texas Longhorn. And then we end up drafting a guy at this wide receiver position by the name of Alfred Jackson.
Yes,
he's
sir.
A Texas Longhorn. 7th round, 167th pick. This man was playing in Atlanta from 1978 to 84. When you look at his numbers with his career with the Falcons and whatnot, 187 receptions, 28 games started. He played in 88 games, a total of 3,001 yards, averaged 16 yards a catch, 70, pretty much the longest reception he had for a touchdown was for 71 yards. And he had 21 career touchdowns with the Falcons. And when you talk about his playoff numbers, no touchdowns, unfortunately. And they pretty much put the clamps on him during the playoffs, 78, 80, and 82. He only had 3 receptions in the playoffs.
Right. That's true.
21 yards, and he only averaged 7 yards a catch. So when you look at that, he was a very dangerous player. And the draft that he was in, he was a part of the draft with Mr. Mike Ken, who should
somebody that should be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
And then you had safety, and then you had safety Tom Prymore also, and running back Ray Strong in that draft as well. So he had a talented draft that he came in on, because if you look back at those 78 Falcons, they got to the playoffs, and unfortunately, they lost to the Dallas Cowboys. So when you look at 85 has definitely been good to a couple of people, but it's not really many guys that we can say that were tough. We only had 2.
You're right. Now, before we move on, I do want to say another guy that real Falcon fans remember his name. But, and I'm not saying that he's necessarily that great, but I'm going to mention his name, Sean Collins, 1989, 1991. And Sean Collins, he had 91 receptions, over 1,300 yards and 5 touchdowns in just that short amount of time. Again, this was times to where run heavy was everything. Run, short yardage and all that stuff. And he was a former first rounder as well that came in only a short stint, of course, with the Falcons. But you think about it, 91 yards, 5 touchdowns in that era. That's not bad, man. That's not bad at all. It's just things didn't work out for him here because the Falcons went into other directions, and the Falcons did pay off better for it. But just wanted to mention this name, Mr. Sean Collins.
I think that's definitely a great honorable mention for that when you speak on Sean Collins. Definitely a great mention.
Sure.
So what you got for 84, sir?
Man, come on, man. You know who rocking number 84. Honestly,
it's a couple of people that rock 84, bro.
It's a couple of them now.
I'm asking which way you want to go. You want to go old school first or new school first?
You know what? I'm gonna go new school. I'm gonna go new school. I'm gonna go with Roddy White. Yes, sir. You know I'm talking about him, man. 171 games, 808 receptions, over 10,000 yards, close to 10,863, 4 Pro Bowl selections, a one-time All-Pro, man. I mean, he was Mr. Falcon before Julio Jones, before Matt Ryan. Roddy White, definitely a guy who had attitude, used to love how Roddy used to play the game well, and he didn't mind talking that ish. He'll get in your face. We already know that iconic picture to where they have him and Roman Harper face to face for those stankin' ain'ts. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's an iconic picture. Then, of course, you know about the other iconic video of him jawing with Richard Sherman after the touchdown, when Richard Sherman was talking that noise the whole time, but Roddy got the score and went and let him know about it. Roddy White, man, always will be also, of course, being in that Falcon Ring of Honor, something else that he deserves, something that, you know, so he earned right there. So one of his best games, of course, one of his best seasons, should I say, not games, but one of his best seasons, 2010, of course. You know what I'm saying? 10 touchdowns, 115 receptions, over 1,300 yards, almost 1,400. Roddy, hey, man, salute to you. Thank you for being an Atlanta Falcon. Thank you for still embodying the Falcon franchise, you know what I'm saying, and just being a part of what we have going on, man. Roddy White.
I'm gonna let you have Roddy. I'm not even gonna jump on that.
Roddy is one of the
greatest, but you know, the man, I'm gonna go. I gotta go old school. You know me, and I love my HBCU players.
That's why I served up, man.
Another one right down the street in Morris Brown College. They produced a man by the name of Mr. Alfred Jenkins, a product of Hogansville, Georgia. You know what it is, Hogansville. Out of Hogansville, Georgia. You know you got to talk about him. This man was as big as a race jockey. He wasn't that big, but when you talk about lightning, look, Taylor Gabriel didn't have the speed that this man had. This man was world-class track speed, and Taylor was fast too. But go back and look at how Alfred literally left people in the dust. Nobody could catch him. It was the way that you stopped him was pass interference. That was the way that you could stop him. Great route runner, a man that was dangerous. You know, unfortunately, when you look at it, his touchdown at the beginning of that 1980 fault collapse with the Dallas Cowboys and whatnot that we were supposed to get. Now, he caught one early, but it was one that he dropped, and we had to kick a field goal. That was the deciding factor later on in that game. We got conservative, but those points hurt. But he put us in position to win that ball game at one point. So when you look at it, this man, wow, when you talk about him, he's first team All-Pro in 81. He was a two-time Pro Bowler. He was an NFL receiving touchdown co-leader in 81, and he led the NFL in yards in 81. And also, he played in the World Football League that folded afterwards, but he started his career with the Birmingham Americans, and he was all World Football League in 1974. But his Falcon numbers, 360 career receptions, 6,267 yards with 40 touchdowns. This man was only 5'10", 170 pounds.
2 Pro Bowl selections as well, man. So I'm just saying, yes, he was one of those ones. Speed, a combination of speed, intelligence, and playmaking. And just think about if Alfred Jenkins could play in today's era where you couldn't stop him by just grabbing on a hold of him for the pass interference. We're talking about a guy who's going to the house almost like a big play threat, maybe something like a Deshaun Jackson or better, you know, because
he's dangerous.
He's dangerous. Exactly. He is dangerous. And hey, we got to mention those guys, man. Roddy White for the new school, but for the guys who don't know, it was an old school man named Jank. And I ain't talking about Michael, who used to go off for the Falcons as well. So, hey, man, definitely got to salute to Alfred Jenkins, man, and Roddy White, man, for sure. Number 83. We're getting close to
Wait a minute. You
back up. My bad. Moving,
brother. You left Cordell Patterson, aka Scordell Patterson, off that list that wore 84. Honorable mention. But there's a guy that I'm gonna bring up.
That is an honorable mention. Shout out to Cordell. You know what I'm saying? Mr.
And there's one more honorable mention. I gotta shout it out because, like I said, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, but I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, or whatnot. And I got to give a shout out to Raines High School down there that's produced 2 Hall of Famers and a lot of great football players. We got to talk about Mr. Sean Jefferson, another 84 that was nice at that wide receiver position that helped us get to a Super Bowl in 1998. So as them boys over there, William and Raines say, Ichiban or whatnot, if you know, you know. So shout out to those folks that's down in Duval County. The best fried chicken wings you could go to on a Friday night. Yes, I'm Sandalwood alumni. I was supposed to go to Reigns or Reebok, but my parents sent me elsewhere. But you know what? I always got respect for those Vikings over there, even though that's my mom's rival, and my mom is a Reebok Trojan. So hey, it is what it is, man. Shout out to Duval. Now I had to get that out of my system, right? But Sean Jefferson was one of the best to lace up for us, man, at that receiver position. Quiet as it's kept.
Yeah,
him and Terrence Matthews, hell of a combination.
I like that honorable mention, man. I do. I'm not gonna
lie to man. Look,
and that's what it's about.
Literally, we're gonna lead these guys off.
Right.
We can't lead them boys off like that, man. That's a no-no.
Okay, all right. Hey,
now we can move on to 83.
Now we can move on somewhere. Number 83, man. 83. When I think about 83, it was a guy that kind of embodied it. You already know. Play with a guy named Michael Vick as well. I'm talking about Mr. Algie Crumpler, who was definitely our tight end, the tight end for the Atlanta Falcons from 01 to 07. Michael Vick's favorite target, 35 touchdowns, 4-time Pro Bowler. Okay. Like I said, Michael Vick's most trusted weapon, I think. Of course, we know tight ends is a quarterback's best friend, but this guy, he played more so like a bigger wide receiver, and he used to take a hit. Now, I ain't gonna lie, maybe not Brian Dawkins, but we know that he could take a hit and deliver because we seen Algie run over people, as well. And he's one of the best tight ends in Falcons history. You can go look at the numbers as well as for that. So I definitely had to mention Algie, and it was so funny because we got back-to-back 83s, because after Algie left, it was another guy that came in as well. So, I mean, I'm talking about Harry Douglas. As soon as Algie went out, Harry came in, and from 04 to 2004, Harry Douglas was one of those guys who he was like the pit bull out of the group. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't want to get in Harry's face. Harry doesn't mind getting into your face. And, as a Falcon, he had over 3,000 yards. And remember, he did have a 1,000-yard season in 2013 to where he had to be the guy. A very reliable option outside of Julio Jones and Roddy White, reliable third down receiver, reliable player overall. So I definitely had to mention Roddy White. I have someone else in mind too, but I don't know. Ryan may mention them. Let's see what he got.
Hey man, listen. As we always look, I know, and here's the thing. I'm not being politically correct with this term, and I'm okay with it. We had an exciting White, as we would say.
Yes, sir.
I don't call him White Lightning. No. He ain't like moonshine that gets you messed up and wobbly. We had an exciting White by the name of Mr. Tim Dwight out of the University of Iowa. You're talking about 4.3, 4.2 speed that could hurt you with kick returns, punt returns. Even if you gave him a short screen, he was a dangerous player. Anytime he touched it, he'd go to the house. When you talk about guys that had speed, when you mentioned Prime, you mentioned Alfred Jenkins, who we just talked about. You mentioned all of these guys that's got that track speed. He is in that category with them. Just going to be honest with you. Not many guys could and he did it effortlessly. That was the scary part. He did it effortlessly. So respect to Mr. Tim Dwight. He was one of those guys that could just get it done. And I got to have another honorable mention. And this is another speedster, but he didn't play long with us, Mr. Ricky Sanders. Ricky played with the Washington Redskins, and Ricky was a part of that Super Bowl that Doug Williams, the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, he caught a touchdown or two from Mr. Doug Williams in that Super Bowl. So he gets an honorable mention because he was a part of history. And he comes to Atlanta, and he finished again. Atlanta is the Social Security home for these players. Listen, these players come to Atlanta and they collect the damn Social Security check. What you mean, bro? We ain't got to lie. You ain't got to lie to kick it, Craig. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, I can't lie with the history, man. The numbers don't lie, Think about Tim Dwight too. We got to think about it. This man, he was part of our offense, in that Super Bowl game. So without Tim Dwight, man, we probably don't need to score as many points as we did. And on that Super Bowl run, he was very instrumental as well. He had 6 touchdowns because he was a wide receiver, but he was a dual threat, one of our first dual threats that really could just take it home from anywhere. It was almost like, he could, like you said, He'll just you can just give him the ball in a little toss sweep or something, and he gone. That speed was undeniable. And Tim Dwight, I'm so glad that he was a Falcon. Thank you for your time here. And again, hey, a lot of games we don't even be in without Tim Dwight. I remember that explosive speed as a returner, and he was an energy guy too in the locker room. Guys loved him in the locker room too. He was fun, that energetic guy. But when he put that helmet on, it was go time.
He was a totally different guy when he put that helmet on. And then
Exactly.
honorable mention, he helped us get to the Super Bowl, Jacob Tamme, former Indianapolis coach. They came here and was a solid piece, and he was one of those tight ends. Well, he was one of the different players that Matt Ryan threw a touchdown to that year to help him get that MVP. So can't forget about Jacob Tamme, man. We can slide on the 82.
I think they said Matt threw the ball to like 13 or 16 different receivers that year.
Yes, he did.
Crazy, man. Shout out to Ice, man. But next, we are at number 82. We're almost winding this thing down, guys. We're at number 82 now. And Ryan, by all means, man, go ahead and start this one off. Let me know who you got.
I got Mr. Ken Burrow, one of the best receivers. Here's the thing. When you talk about another, and we all said it, I said it just now, another exciting white. That's what I call him. So Mr. Tim Burrow played from 1971 to 75. And he literally set the league on fire as a rookie. And his best receiving day by the NFC or whatnot receiver was not once but twice, where he received 190 yards in a game October the 3rd against the Detroit Lions. And then he did it against them stinking New Orleans Saints.
I'm about stinking.
In 1971. But when you look at his career, he played 64 games, had 61 starts. He had his yardage wasn't that great, 2,668 yards, but this was a league where they weren't throwing the ball around, so that's good at that time. But he averaged 17.6 yards per catch.
Right,
that was the average with 21 touchdowns,
and only in 5 seasons, y'all. So I'm just like, run heavy offense. Kim Burrow was definitely on my list, as long with Mr. Stacey Bailey. Stacey Bailey was also on my list as well, somebody who had 18 touchdowns. Now, he didn't do it in the stretch as far as like Kim Burrow, but if you think about somebody in a good stretch of 80s, he was our number one wide receiver, our deep threat, multiple seasons of 800 plus yards, a reliable target in a very inconsistent era of offense for the Atlanta Falcons, and just period for the 80s. Because again, run heavy. So for me, I got to mention Stacey Bailey because, hey, he was in it in the mud when we was in the mud. So got to mention Stacey Bailey.
He never played in a playoff game.
Bro.
And think about it. They went to the playoffs the next year.
Absolutely crazy.
Right after he retired.
Man, the only thing that could top that is Tiki Barber retiring a year before they went to the Super Bowl.
That's got to be work. That's got to be horrible. Like you retire like that, and then you retire. That's got to be horrible.
That's tough, bro. That's tough as nails right there, man. What's good, Millie Mills? Thank you for
Mills. What's good, family?
Hey, man, we are. Hey, unless you got somebody else.
Well, I'm not gonna mention the guy that I got for 82 because he had an original jersey, but he came back to Atlanta. I had to switch to that because Terrence Mathis had 80. Had that number at the time, so we're gonna switch. We can switch to 81 on this one.
Right, man. Hey, 81 was quite a number. 81. Ooh, we have some stunners that rock that
Lord
81.
Jesus.
Now you gonna lie to y'all. We had some stunners that rock that 81. And for me, this is personal for me because this man, I understand we had some Michael Hayes and everything like that. And all the other guys, Andre Rison and all those guys like that. But without this guy, what I'm saying? Like, he's the guy that got me into Falcon wide receivers. And I'm talking about the coach of the Morehouse College right now, Terrence Mathis, from 1994 to 2001. Terrence Mathis came from those Jets. They didn't know what to do with him. The Falcons showed them what to do with him. You know what I'm saying? He had over 7,000 yards, 57 touchdowns. You can arguably say that he is an icon still to this day in the Falcon community. franchise icon, number 2 all-time receiving categories, and also a key component in that 98 Super Bowl run. Like Terrence Mathis, again, I understand we have the Jerry Rices. Jerry Rice deserves his credit. But for me, again, somebody that just got me into Falcon football and all my fandom, I have to roll with my guy, Terrence Mathis, man. Got to.
He's one of my guys too. You know, when you talk about Atlanta Falcons, you know, as a child, I think the thing that hurt me the worst was, you know, Andre Rison was one of my guys. I loved Andre. And
Right.
I thought I would never get over there. Now I'm a kid. I watched Deion Sanders leave, then I watched Andre leave, literally, simultaneously, back to back. That was tough as a young Falcon fan. And we weren't good. And then we bring in this guy from New York. I know nothing about him.
Right.
As a child. I fell in love with Terrence Mathis, one of my favorite Falcons of all time, outside of Jesse Tuggle. He's one of my guys. And to me, I feel like the greatest catch that I ever saw him make is in a playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings in '98, early in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And yes. I'm not going to mention the coach because he's at Florida State currently right now. He's a defensive back coach. I'm not going to put him out there because he was really good in Florida State and in the NFL. But, you know, everybody got. And for the sympathy that I have for him because he's a nice guy, I'm not going to mention his name. Terrence Mathis called a one-hand pass. If you remember, go back. As a matter of fact, you go on YouTube.
I do.
Look up NFL's greatest games, Falcons, Vikings, 1998 NFC Championship game. Terrence Mathis catches this pass with one hand and gets 2 feet in before he falls out. That play right there set the tone for that offense because when they caught it, they started to roll. So when you talk about him, you know, he's a Decatur legend, by the way. You got to mention where he came up out of. Shout out to Redan High School. That's one of your legends. I'm not an East Side guy. I'm from the SWATs, baby. You know, Zone 4 all day, every day. But I got love for the East like that. You know.
Yeah. So, yeah. Always got love for the East Side. I got love for all sides. I'm from here myself, so. But I am. So,
you know. But, we got a guy.
Oh, and also Terrence Mann too. I mean, Terrence Mann. He must be talking about me. Anyway, Terrence Mathis, he had contributes as outside of football too. Remember, we're talking about somebody who was honored as Man of the Year as well too for his involvement in the community and his leadership. So it was more than just on the field; it was off the field. He was great all the way around. Again, like I said, salute to Coach Mathis. I would have loved to have him as a wide receiver coach here. No disrespect to Ike Hiller or anyone else. But I would have loved to have Terrence Mathis coaching up our wide receivers, man. Are you serious? That would have been so great. Just like Smith, a guy that they should have been as well.
It's not no disrespect. He should be here just like freaking Chuck Smith should be here right now. Let's call it for what it is. Y'all want to hire everybody else outside of your fan base, but you don't want to hire the guys that gave a damn about this organization and that literally gave you everything. You got one of your best pass rushers in Chuck Smith. You got one of your best wide receiver one of your best wide receivers in franchise history with Terrence Mathis. But you can't get these guys jobs. Baltimore thought Chuck Smith was valuable, and you see how that defense is. Morehouse thought Mr. Terrence Mathis is valuable. They made him a head coach. No disrespect to you, Ike Taylor, but you're a Florida Gator, so I got my feelings towards y'all already. So it is what it is. I will forever stand on hate for the University of Florida like I stand on hate for the New Orleans Saints. So y'all can take that how you want. Kyle Pitts, I root for you just because you got the number, because you got the black jersey. But, brother, you a Gator, so you ain't going to never get no love from me. So I don't give a damn how these fans feel about it. I don't like nothing that come up out of University of Florida that comes to Atlanta because guess what? None of it ever works out. That's why. Keanu Neal, bust. You looking at Kyle Pitts right now. Suspect is OJ in 94. The gloves, these gloves are starting to fit right about now. But I ain't gonna get to. I'm gonna say that for Thursday.
Ooh, man, my man is already piping hot, ready for Thursday. Y'all make sure y'all check out Birdcage LLC on Thursday night.
Let me stop because boy, see, I'm already gonna get on. Let's get back to giving some honor Cause see, as soon as you said Florida Gator, man, you just
my bad, man. It just like
that just struck a nerve, man. Come on,
I had to say it because
you can't be triggering me like that. What's wrong with you, man?
Right now.
But let me stop clowning though, man. But the Gators have had some great players to come to the NFL. We just haven't taken the right ones. So I'm still right now. The verdict is still out on Kyle Pitts. I pray that he does become a weapon for us to help us get to the next level. So I can put my dislike aside because he's got on that Falcon logo and it's all about logo business. But I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, and I'm gonna tell the damn truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. But
so help me God.
So speaking of help me God, there was a man that was dropped down to this team.
Ooh. Yes, sir.
From the Houston Oilers during the Love Your Blue era. One of the greatest punt returners of all time that should be in the NFL Hall of Fame if you look at his numbers. And he's right. And here's the thing. I live in Philadelphia. So he's a respected man in this city of Philly because he's right from outside of Philly. Westchester College alum and legendary Mr. Billy White Shoes Johnson, Mr. Funky Chicken himself. I'm over here doing it. They can't see it.
He used to wear. Yes, sir.
He still wears those white shoes. And Mr. Billy. So when you talk about Mr. Billy White Shoes Johnson, he was one of those guys that could change a game at the drop of a dime. Yeah. And, he's from the Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania area, which is literally 5 minutes from Philly. That's really like, as soon as you step, you're right there. So when you look at Mr. Johnson also played in the Canadian Football League as well for a year. Mm-hmm. But when you look at it, he was the comeback player of the year in 1983. He was a first team All-Pro in 77. That's with the Oilers. He was second team All-Pro in 83. The man made 3 Pro Bowls. He was in the 1970s All-Decade team, the 1980s All-Decade team, a part of the 75th All-Anniversary team, and a part of the NFL's 100 All-Anniversary team. And this is my thing. Why the hell is he not in the NFL Hall of Fame? He put in work, not just with the Falcons. He did it with the Oilers as well. So when you look at it, he was a guy
both ways.
He was a guy that he was drafted in the 15th round, 365 pick. 5'9", 170 pounds. So again, why is this man not in the Hall of Fame? This dude lit it up. Anytime he touched the ball, he could go. It didn't matter. He could go. The disrespect that you're listed on all these all-decade teams, and some people are in the Hall of Fame, and they're not even listed on one. Not even on one. He's listed on multiple.
That doesn't make sense. Nowhere does that make sense at all.
I told you, you got my blood pressure start all high when we started the Gators, and now I'm talking about one of the greatest punt returners of all time. Right. And we all talk about Devin Hester.
Of course.
Because Devin Hester was special. He's special. But this man right here, he did it first.
Yeah.
He did it first, and he did it with style.
He walked so literally Devin Hester could run, literally. So
he walked so Devin Hester and Prime and Allen Rossum could run. He did this for this franchise.
And Cordero Patterson, man. I also want to mention, a guy that again I came in toward the tail end of his tenure with the Atlanta Falcons, but I got to give him his shout out, Mr. Michael Hayes. Wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons from 1988 to 93. Again, 47 touchdowns with 47, elite. You hear me? Elite deep threat. Somebody who could take the ball and go right to the house. It's a 17.5 yards per catch. His career best was over 1,000 yards, 1,100, 1,122 yards. 11 touchdowns in 1991. When I say that him and Andre Rison was best friends and there was a dynamic duo like Batman and Robin, it really was the truth with these two guys, and they used to leave it on the field, man. So I had to mention Mr. Michael Hayes, somebody who again was an elite deep threat and wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons.
And that's the toughest thing when you sit back and you look at it right now and you really see it for what it is. And all you can do is just shake your head at this point and you really look at it for what it is. And all you can do is just say, wow, I'm just excited about how everything is happening and how we have a lot of guys to come through. Then you look at this point, got to mention a couple of honorable mentions. You had Hayden Hurst, tight
Yes.
end who was solid.
Don't forget Austin.
You got Austin. And then there's another guy who should be still here right now, but they didn't want to pay him. It's Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith. Yep. All right. Hey, man, people still miss Jonnu. I ain't gonna lie to you. A lot of times last year, man, we traded the wrong tight end. Man, I miss Jonnu Smith. I mean, Jonnu, hey, he got it done with Atlanta. We can't lie. He did get it done in Atlanta, and shout out to him and all his future endeavors, man. Thank you, Ryan, for, of course, being a part of this list. As always, this thing is fun. Again, like I told y'all, man, it's going to be a little slow burn now, but you definitely can expect episodes to be coming up from me and Ryan, the historian. We're going to come here, to give our thoughts of some of the best Falcons. Falcons great by the digits. This episode has been 90 to 81. Ryan, if you ain't got anything left, man, please let the other people know where they can find you and what you got coming up next.
Hey, man, you know how we get down. Like we say in the birdcage, you either get right or you get left. So go ahead, get right with us on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. live on YouTube. Also during the season, we have the pregame meal before every game. And then we also have the party line or the benediction after the games. And then we also have the halftime report done by yours truly. And the magnificent birdcage crew comes in and they always do their thing. They drop knowledge as well as we have some great debates and whatnot. So please check us out. We got some interviews coming up and we definitely would love for you guys to tune in. We apologize about last week's interview that was supposed to come through, but that happens in this world. We'll be rescheduling and getting some things squared away to bring you some more content. But before I go, I want to thank you, A1, for having me on again. And us just having a good time talking about Falcons football, something we both love. But for the fans, we appreciate you guys for tuning in, but you got to stop being cheap. Hit that like and that subscribe button for both of us in this here. Because, again, we want to make sure that we continue to keep providing you with great content, but we want to get this thing bigger because, hey, we're in a position now where the Falcons are going to be more respected. And we were doing this even before we weren't. So my thing is, let's go ahead and get this out here so the world can know a little bit more about our Southern flavor, baby. That's what I got for you.
Yes, sir, man. Hey, man. Chris Tipmore, A1 Forever Sports, man. Be generational because there's always time to be, and don't you settle for less because you always can have more with the vision. Now, I ain't going to lie. It's 9 o'clock at night. I hope you found your peace today because positive energy always creates elevation. Again, man, the Falcon logo is elevating. I believe we're in for good times. So let's get ready for that. Thank you again to everybody who tuned in. Again, this is the second episode. And if you haven't seen the first episode, please, go on our channels and you can definitely find numbers 90 to 91 for, first. And then, come on back to check out this one again if you haven't, already done so. But I also want to say, check your boy out on Hawks Digest as well. A video will be dropping tonight. I repeat, a video will be dropping tonight. New trade rumor, something that may be a steal for the Atlanta Hawks. And we're going to dive right into it, me and Walter Pollard. Thank you for everyone who's subscribed over at Hawks Digest as well. As far as other content goes, hey, man, me and Smitty, we got a few things coming up in the works. We got a pop-up show coming up. I'm not going to tell you when, of course, because that's the point of a pop-up. But also on Thursday, we have a special interview coming up as well. You guys make sure you tune in for that. Keep your notification bells ready because somebody who is a very, I would say, brilliant mind in the NFL world will be joining us talking about Falcons football. So make sure you tune in for that. Outside of that, Twitter, A1 Forever, Instagram, A1 Forever, and the real A1 Forever on TikTok, man. Peace and blessings to you all, and to you all, ghosts.